What's going on, my Latin ones? It's your boy MoashDMC, DMC back in the building, baby. And today I have an interesting topic for you. And the topic I want to talk about today is a group that's sort of like flying under the radar, which is really interesting because with everything and all the people who are in spotlight right now, I'm surprised that they aren't themselves. And with that being said, you already know how I'm feeling right now, so cue the music. Yeah. You see, right now in One Piece, a lot of factions are facing off. Like Doflamingo said, when he was taking down, the reins were loosened. The monsters hiding in the shadows have now come to the forefront. Who will ally with who? Who will attack who? Who will battle with who? The Battle Royale of One Piece has started. Chapter 76 just dropped, and we got the red hair Eustace Captain D Kid versus one red hair Shanks. Interesting. Lost his arm, but not the Shanks, the Ben Beckman? Question mark. So who's next to actually fall? That's the question. You see, right now we have one Yonko, Monkey D. Luffy, going against Seraphim, but not just the Seraphim. He has one Kizaru and Saru the Gorosei. Interesting. Then we move over to another part of the new world. We got Blackbeard, Zihaha, facing over none other than Room Law. That's interesting. And like I just mentioned before, we had the red hair, battle of the red hairs, the red herring themselves, the battle of the one arm, the battle of the scarred man, the battle of the hockey man versus the man who just controls metal. Eustace, my Captain Kid versus Shanks. You see, so much is happening. I'm just wondering, what is Buggy up to? Okay, the reason I'm saying Buggy's not really just Buggy, but the Cross Guild themselves. We have Crocodile, Buggy, and the world's strongest swordsman himself, Draco Mihawk. And the way things are playing out right now, I think the Cross was probably going to play the biggest part in everything to actually make the snowball begin to fall and create an avalanche of epic proportions. So I'm hype. The chessboard is in full effect. Some people are playing checkers. Oda right now is playing chess. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but let's really sit down and dive deep. I'm so hyped that I don't even know what. Sorry. I'm so hyped that I can't even sit in my seat. But honestly speaking, right now, we have Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile making moves somehow. They have bounties on Marines. Garp is out there running around. Kobe's out there running around. Hey, Akanu's back there, but Kizo's out there running around. Let's see one of those bounties actually get cashed in. And I wonder what's going to happen if one of them does. Right now, everybody have Marines thinking they won with the Seraphim, but guess what? The Pirates right now have a full head of steam, and they're taking out anything and everyone in the way because they really are truly the Juggernaut, the Cross Guild. What's going to happen? Buggy the Clown, Pirate Queen, Mihawk, beating Shanks, Crocodile, Green Bull? Let's talk about it. The reason I'm saying I'm keeping the same thing as who, what, where's, because right now I'm sort of doing the same kind of thing as my last video, the Shadows video, talking about people hiding in the shadows. If you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch it. And today, guys, as you can see, no headband again, because right now we're going straight off the Domski. No, we're going straight into it again. Cross Guild. The next or the fourth warlord that we actually got after Big Mom and Kaido fell, and we're just gonna start off with the formation. Honestly speaking, the formation of the Cross Guild was actually very entertaining for many because when we got the implication that Buggy was now a Yonko, everyone was like, "How is Buggy a Yonko? The Yonko system is flawed. The Yonko system is this. The Yonko system is that." Instead of really sitting back and thinking, what actually implies that Buggy is a Yonko, right? Buggy is like not the main character, but like the ex-main character that just keeps failing but moving up in the world, right? Like he basically was the person who broke out of Impel Down, but then later on became a warlord because of the implications with Shanks, but also him being an ex-Roger pirate or sailing on the Roger ship at least. And then we have this interesting fellow Crocodile who lost to Luffy pre-timeskip, even though he was a Loga, even though he was a warlord. And as we can see, the power of the warlords are pretty darn high in the world because they're replacing them with Seraphim. If they're replacing them with Seraphim, that means their power had to be of some substance, right? And we have the Sand Crocodile, Crocodile basically being a Sand Man. Right? And he is basically the ringleader. He is really the one who brought together this group in order to go after Marines, basically putting bounties on Marines, even though Mihawk was already known as the Marine Hunter. But Crocodile was the one that reached out to Mihawk, was like, listen, I took out these fleets. I took out this Marine fleets for you, but I have an interesting proposition. How about me and you team up? And when we do team up, we head out and actually form our own little faction. Because right now, the world system's abolished, and if we stay by ourselves, we're just going to keep getting attacked by the Marines. And it's interesting because that's essentially what's happening on other fronts. We see Boa Hancock in the situation with Blackbeard and Kobe, But then we see what happened with Weevil. Weevil actually beating the Marines and going away, but we're also going to talk about Weevil a little bit later. But basically, when they disbanded the Warlords and then went after the Warlords, this was the Marines declaring war directly against the pirates. I'm not saying they're going to go out and fight Yonko, even though technically they're doing that right now, but it's really interesting to see how it's going to play out moving forward. And the reason why it's interesting with Buggy being the Yonko or the Yonko leader, being the face of the Yonko group or the Cross Guild, is because we know Buggy really isn't all that for now. I mean, there's a lot of implications with Buggy having durability feats, some speed feats, some AP feats. You can make an argument that Buggy's probably stronger than most people like to give him credit for, but I'm not going to go too deep into that. I want to stay right on the lore of the Cross Guild themselves, talking about the formation with Mihawk, reaching out to Crocodile, reaching out to Mihawk, them forming a group, and then Buggy basically also being in there. And then Crocodile basically going to Buggy in order for him to get the money back from Buggy, the money that Crocodile going to Buggy in order to get the money back from Buggy that he lent to him for him to form his original I can't remember the name of Buggy's group, or Buggy's original group after his pirate crew. And essentially because of the people that admire Buggy so much, he ended up becoming the face of a Yonko crew, which is really interesting because with that being said, we had some technical difficulties, but I'm back. But what I was saying is what's going to happen now that the formation of Cross Guild is now out there. Now they're a Yonko crew. And essentially, even though Mihawk and Crocodile like literally going to just like X off Buggy entirely and just throw him away, but they're like, you know what? It may not be a bad thing that he's actually the face of this group, because anything that we do essentially is going to be all placed onto Buggy, which may be good or bad, to be honest, because right now Buggy may be winning because he's sort of like red herring or putting up a facade for the people that actually do follow him. But it may be a situation where now that all the things that are actually happening in the Cross Guild are doing, they're all going to be accomplishments essentially for Buggy as the pirate being boosted up. And if that's the case, Buggy may end up probably being not like, you remember he said he wanted to be Pirate King, but he said if you're going to be Pirate King, then I'm going to be Pirate Emperor or Pirate Jesus, or basically Pirate God, something like that, when he's talking to Luffy on the ship headed towards Marineford. And if that's the case, what is the Cross Guild's goal? And I feel like that's a really good segue into talking about the goal of Cross Guild. And right now it's really interesting because what is the goal of the Cross Guild, right? See, Mihawk is someone who could have been a Yonko, but just strictly the power, but he's like, you know what? I don't want that, right? He's like, I'd rather just be like in the back chilling, because that's really all I want to do. I just want to chill, you know? Mihawk, the cool cat, sipping wine on Gloomy Island by himself with a bunch of apes running around. I mean, he's an interesting character, but at the same time, he's like not that interesting because he really doesn't want to do anything, right? And then you have Crocodile. When we got introduced to Crocodile, he was taking over a whole kingdom just trying to find an ancient weapon. But now that he has sort of like henchmen, besides like, you know, the Baroque works were really good henchmen at the time, but now in the New World, they may not be up to snuff. But now he has Dial's Bones back, he has Mr. 3 back, Moji, Alvida, Buggy, and Mihawk. He could sort of, you know, make his way and make his moves a little bit better now, right? Even though he knew about the new situation about Alabasta and the Poneglyph, right? That just shows you that Crocodile actually knows about the Poneglyphs, right? And it's really interesting now because last time we talked about Eustace Kid and Shanks, we were talking about possibly either the Grand Fleet showing up because of everything with Bartolomeo, right? And then I was talking about maybe Kid forming his own fleet. And then I started thinking a little bit more now for this video in particular. It was like, because Crocodile and Buggy now we both know they both have underworld dealings, right? And then my thought process was thinking, how does Kid know about the man marked by flames, right? And when you think about that, that's sort of like an epithet that someone would have lying in the underworld, right? Just having underworld dealings. But even if it's not, it's really interesting that is how Kid knows them, and he knows that person knows about Poneglyphs. And then we think about it, Crocodile knew about Poneglyphs all the way back in the beginning of the series, which means Crocodile possibly knows about the road Poneglyphs and other forms of Poneglyphs, and possibly if the man marked by flames does have some implications for underworld dealings, it could be a situation where Crocodile actually knows that person or know of that person. And if that is the case, then we have an interesting thing developing, right? Because like I was talking about before, right now we have Law sort of facing a Yonko crew, right? Then we have Luffy, a Yonko crew facing the Marines. It could be a situation where another Yonko crew possibly runs into a Yonko crew. And by that I mean, because Crocodile now has implications and now he's on the move and now he has a group capable of doing something, he may be a situation where we actually see Crocodile and the Cross Guild begin to move towards the man marked by flames, which we know currently is, or it's still speculation that it is Jaguar D. Saul, the person that is lying in the shadows all the way on Elbath. And if that is the case, and we truly do get an interaction between Cross Guild and Red Hair Shanks, then we have an interesting thing forming. Even though we have Crocodile may easily lose to Ben Beckman, but now we have Mihawk versus Shanks, and it could be a situation where we actually do get to see them clash a little bit. I'm not saying they're gonna have a full-out fight, but it could be interesting. It could be interesting to see Mihawk finally clash with Shanks, maybe split the sky. But we have something sort of going for us. But at the same time, because of how we're seeing the Yonko crews, besides Luffy and Shanks, the other two crews could split. For Blackbeard, we already know that his crew split. The only people we actually saw Blackbeard with was Van Auger, Burgess, and I can't forget the third one. There's only 4 people and Doc Q. So it's basically just like the main part of his crew that we saw earlier on in the series besides Lafitte. It was them traveling together and going to face Law by themselves. And he's like, I knew that one of the crews were going to show up. So that means he was very confident in facing either Kid, Luffy, the Yonko crew, and Law if they showed up by showed up with their crew with just these 4, just him and those three commanders or Titanic captains. Sorry. So it's interesting because now we know, like, since Blackbeard is split with his crew, what is the other half of his crew doing? Like, literally, what are they up to? And that's the interesting part we have to think about, right? But besides that, let's talk about Cross Guild, because we already know Mihawk is a man that actually traveled, like, not that he's part of a group, right? And he's known as the Marine Hunter, and now there's actually bounties on Marines. He's sort of gonna be, he could be just like in the beginning of the series, just traveling by himself, but now he has a goal or a destination, right? Now it's not just him aimlessly wandering around. Now he actually has to go somewhere. And it could be a situation where they're going to bolster their power. And we could make that a segue into recruits, but I want to talk a little bit more about them being split, right? So it could be a situation where Buggy maybe still be on land, but maybe Crocodile sent him with his normal crew, like Das Bones, Mr. 3, not Buggy's crew, but like the Cross Guild's crew. We had Das Bones, Mr. 3, Alvida, and possibly who else could go with them? Maybe just them. Yeah, maybe it's those people. I would say Morji, but like, you know, Moji. I can't forget the cyclist name. I literally had it on the top of my tongue. I literally read the chapter right before this so I can remember, but I can't. But they send Buggy to go do something, right? And if they're all split, right, just like the Blackbeard Pirates, they're all split to go handle a certain thing, right? Could be a situation where he maybe send Buggy to Elbath to go meet the man marked by a flame, which would be really interesting to see Kid interact with Buggy, because now you would have Kid interacting with 2 Yonkos, but at the same time, remember what Kid said before he left, or before they left Wano. He said that the Yonko, or the person that really pissed me off the most, is Buggy. So we actually get an interesting thing with Buggy going to interact with Kid, possibly fighting alongside Kid to fight Shanks, but at the same time, Buggy going to Elbath in order to interact with the man marked by flames to get more information from Crocodile specifically, right? And now we know with Crocodile, right? We don't know if Crocodile knows where Pluton is, but we all know, the readers now know where Pluton is. But at the same time, Crocodile is still a man that has knowledge about Piney List XYZ. But I still think that he may be right now he's still on the journey to recruit people, right? And that may lend him to interact with someone else. And Mihawk being known as the Marine Hunter may lead him to interact with someone else. And this is what I want to talk about. I actually want to talk about this for recruits, sort of like this recruits. I should have made this one topic, but recruits and matchups are sort of like the same thing right now, right? So essentially, you have Crocodile maybe going on the move. Remember, he went to go interact with Mihawk. So it could be possible that he's going to actually collect all the warlords that he possibly can, right? Not Doflamingo because he's in jail, but maybe possibly Doflamingo. Remember, because Mihawk was there at Marineford, but Buggy and Crocodile were both in Impel Down, and they both broke out of Impel Down. So it could be a situation where they go and possibly rescue Doflamingo, or we get another like sort of parallel between Buggy and Luffy, almost like when Luffy got like when they were both the Yonkos were revealed, we had Luffy basically beaten up and then you have Buggy beaten up, and then you have the crew besides him. Could be a situation where that's sort of the same thing, but we have Buggy interacting with other CP0 agents. Maybe, I mean, this is just me just trying to find any possible way to bring Bluno back into the story because I love his Dordor fruit. And maybe him interacting with Bluno being like, listen, man, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. You see Marines right now are trying to take us. Oh, maybe actually that may be a thing because right now they're like, depending on what's happening on Eckerd Island, it's almost like they're trying to get rid of CP0. And if they're actually trying to get rid of CP0, it could be a situation that all the like the Marines are sort of like, or the Gors are trying to like get rid of the like cut the loose ends, right? And that could be possibly Bluno as well, with CP0 being a part of CP0 as well. And it could be a situation where Buggy and him interact, or Crocodile and him interact, and they go and possibly save Buggy. But I mean, not Buggy, but Doflamingo from Impel Down or wherever he is, because you can make a door anywhere. So getting in and out of Impel Down would be fairly easy and very simple for Bluno. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about what's easier to like the place out there. So in the beginning of the series, right, we have Luffy facing two enemies, not at the same time, but two enemies that are not only Logias, but like they're like the pinnacle of power. Like, how is Luffy gonna beat? He can't even touch these people. These people are absolutely insane. Well, first it was basically strictly matchups. Like, unfortunately for Crocodile, Luffy found out that if I'm Water Luffy and I have water on me, even my blood, I can touch you, which is really interesting. Obviously, Crocodile, I'm assuming he has Conqueror's Haki. He's a 1.9 billion berry man. He's part of the Yonko crew now. I doubt that Oda's gonna move Crocodile forward without having Haki, but that's not the case, right? Right now, it's interesting to show you that Luffy beat him without Haki because he found his elemental disadvantage for Crocodile, but advantage for Luffy, right? So if Crocodile's on a mission to recruit people, right now you can sort of like just keep it around the 7 warlords, right? So Jinbei's part of Luffy's crew, so you can't go there. Boa is Boa. So I just respectfully, I gotta talk about my last video. I don't think Boa is actually going to join any crews besides possibly Luffy's Grand Fleet. That just makes the most sense. Being protected by Luffy makes the most sense, right? To me, right? Law is his own crew. Blackbeard is a Yonko crew. Moria's probably a part of Blackbeard's crew. Maybe not. It'd be really interesting if Moria wasn't. And if you go back to my last video talking about the Shadow King, talking about Moria buying his time in order to get revenge on Blackbeard for taking out Absalom, but also building a crew possible to go after the One Piece, even though it's Moria, but at the same time, it'd be interesting to see it play out that way, right? Or Moria possibly interacting with Crocodile after I talk about this a little bit more. So we have Boa probably a part of Luffy's Grand Fleet. Jinbei a part of Luffy's crew. You have these three. So you have Crocodile, Buggy, and Mihawk. So that's them right there, part of a crew. Then you have Doflamingo is impaled down. You have Weevil, and then who else am I missing? Law has his own crew now. Law is basically a 3 billion berry man. And am I missing another warlord? And Kuma is on the red line right now, right? So I think that's all of them, right? I think that's all the warlords. If I'm forgetting one, please leave a comment down below and let me know. But essentially, if he's going on a way to recruit possibly just the warlords, right? If Doflamingo is impaled down, I'll leave that for another day. Because I already talked about the situation about probably Buggy and CP0. Maybe them breaking him out. Maybe them going to break him out. But I'll leave that for another day. But what's left is Weevil. Is just Weevil right now, right? And right now we know for a fact that Weevil was captured by Green Bull. And I already talked about this in my last video. I keep mentioning my last video. You guys should probably go and check that out at this point. I might even leave a card up in this note right now and tell you guys to go watch it. But if Weevil was captured by Green Bull, and going on the Green Bull trope of what happened to Shinobu and Wano, if Green Bull were to suck the life out of Weevil or just suck him dry in order to capture him, it could be possible that we do get Weevil as a slim Weevil that looks very reminiscent to a young Whitebeard. And they already compared Weevil's strength to Whitebeard in his youth, so it's possible we may get that situation going forward. But like I was just mentioning before, I completely digressed from what I was saying. Luffy found an advantage in order to beat Crocodile, and then basically he was just like Anel's like straight counter. Like, Luffy's made of rubber, has the properties of rubber. Anel can't really do ish to him. Obviously, you can do some things because Anel was able to displace Luffy, still able to do sharp damage, he was able to do something to Luffy, right? But if that is the case, if we get a situation where the best way to beat Logias is to have the elemental disadvantage or have the elemental advantage, the one person who can really give Green Bull a run for his money is one Crocodile. For a man who can literally sap the very life, just like Green Bull, from you, making it dry, but at the same time, he's a man that's literally sand. And what we saw in Alabasta, basically making the land barren, basically sucking the very essence from the land or the trees or nature itself. So it could be a situation where we actually do get to see two Logias go back and forth. And the last time we saw two Logias in the same realm of power, we didn't get to see it. It was Aokiji versus Akainu. Whereas Akainu is magma, so it's like hot, like heat and rock, basically, or fire and rock, or heat and rock, basically. And then Aokiji's like ice, so it's like cold, cold and rock, essentially, or cold and ice. So you have rock, ice, and then you have heat, cold. So they're basically almost very equivalent. That's why they fought for 10 days without deciding a winner until the 10th day. Could be a situation where we get something very similar where Crocodile goes up against Green Bull, and then in essence, we actually are getting someone on their side. and that would be Weevil. And we got to remember, even though Weevil fought the Marines off because he was a warlord, he has nowhere to go. It's just Weevil and Bakken, right? Everyone's talking about Weevil possibly joining the Grand Fleet with Luffy. That would be interesting, but right now, Weevil at the end of the day is still a pirate, a white bear pirate, not white bear, probably a white bear clone to be exact. And right now, without Bakken, it's just Weevil. So even if he somehow escapes from Green Bull, maybe he's not even captured. If he somehow escapes, he has nowhere to go. And it'd be interesting. Crocodile's like, you have nowhere to go. You are also a warlord just like me. Come and join me. And it could be a situation where if Green Bull is just traveling by himself, and if Crocodile goes and attacks the ships like he did, and it's just Green Bull versus Crocodile, if he just get Weevil on his side, or like a slim Weevil, it's Crocodile and Weevil versus Green Bull. So even if people are like, oh, there's no possible way that Crocodile could be Green Bull, it could be a situation where if Green Bull is traveling with Weevil, don't know how injured he is, but it could be a situation where Crocodile like rescues Weevil and it's 2v1, so that adds more implications. And if you want to say Mihawk travels with him, I'm probably put my money on Crocodile, Mihawk, and Weevil versus Green Bull. But hey, believe that for another day. So that's a matchup and a recruitment that I'm sort of thinking, sort of like leaning on the side of, because if they bring in another warlord, that now they're garnering, like they're basically creating a faction that was supposed to rival the warlords when it came to the power balance with the Marines, the Yonko, and then the warlords. So now you're actually literally adding those people into one faction that is just one Yonko crew. Now you would have now 4. Obviously, Buggy, you can make implications. Buggy's gonna do it. You can make an argument that the power balance is starting to shift towards the Yonkos in a heavier favor, especially if Crocodile takes Weevil. Because remember, the last time we saw Logia versus Logia, we didn't get to see it, but it was Sabo. Another time we got to see a Logia versus Logia was Sabo versus Green Bull. We didn't get to physically see it, but we knew that Sabo was able to get in, get Kuma, and get out. So if Crocodile maybe not even wanted to fight Green Bull, it just gets in, gets Weevil, and gets out. So it's possible we may get to see the same thing over and over again. Because right now, I think Green Bull may just be the big bomb. Green Bull may end up being the big mom of the Admirals for now. Obviously, the man has the power of nature itself, so it'd be really interesting to see where Oda goes with him. Maybe he wants to make him all powerful, but right now he already has an L under his belt by getting basically sprouted by Momonosuke and then Conqueror's Shockwave, the Conqueror Wi-Fi by Shanks. So if he loses the Crocodile, actually he already has 3. He already struck out, to be honest. So right now this is the second time at bat. My man lost Kuma to Sabo and the Revolutionaries. My man got Boro blasted by Momonosuke, even though he sprouted back and was going to actually get serious and take down Momonosuke. He still happened, all right? And then he got hockey Wi-Fi'd by Shanks. So that's already 3 strikes, man. So maybe let's not count the Momonosuke one, right? This will be his 3rd strike with Crocodile. You're out of here. And this is possibly when Crocodile actually does beat Green Bull. But like I said, we'll save that for another day. And the reason why it's already interesting too, I wanted to add, is because last time we saw, Weevil was fighting Marines. So right now, that's like the whole thing. Fighting the warlords are basically fighting out the Marines. They're basically Marine hunters. And if Weevil's like, I want to get revenge for everything that happened, Weevil being very simple-minded, listen, you want revenge? Come join me and I'll pay you. You don't even listen. You remember because the whole thing with Bakken was her getting the money, basically Whitebeard's money for him being a pirate. Crocodile's like, you know what? You do me a solid. You join me, I'll pay you. So you don't need to do what Bakken's doing. I'll pay you because that's what you want, right? You want money. I'll pay you to go handle this, that, and the third. I'll pay you to go attack Impel Down and go bust out Buggy. Because remember, Crocodile already talked about teaming up with Buggy, so it could be an interesting thing that he actually does team up with Buggy. And this is why I think it's so interesting that the formation of the Cross Guild is actually going to end up being most of the warlords together. So now we have 4 warlords and possibly Moria joining as well. So then we have 5. And if you guys watched my last video, if things happen the way it could possibly happen, Moria may be more powerful than we realized before, and the Seraphim may not be on the side of the Marines any longer, or at least the ones that we've seen so far, or at least 1 or 2 of the ones we've seen so far. Especially if Mihawk interacts with the young Mihawk, you'd be like, now that'll be an interesting interaction for sure. But or possibly if my idea is that all the warlords are coming together, that the 2 that they get, or maybe the 3 that they get, is possibly S-Bear, S-Bear, S-Snake, and S-Shark, right? So then you're actually physically getting the Seraphim on the side. And if you guys are interested, you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, then my last video sort of implied that maybe Moria is probably on Egghead, maybe. And if he's actually able to put shadows inside the Seraphim, can he control them and sort of add them to his side? But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to get too deep into my old videos, but let's continue moving, right? And speaking of the cross skill gaining Weevil, it just makes sense. Now you would have essentially four ex-warlords all on one team. And maybe you do get Moria, maybe you do get Doflamingo, maybe you do get some Seraphim, so you would have building more of the physical warlords on one team. And remember, Boa's, like I said, Boa's not going to join the cross guild. Probably Luffy's Grand Fleet. But if they do get S-Snake, then they would have Boa too. And then you'd really be building a crew of ex-warlords. So you just add them 4 Weevil, bring in Moria with the 2 Seraphims. They're cooking with some gas, but like that's the very much a stretch of the headcanon I'm talking about. So now moving from Buggy, we already talked about Buggy, we talked about Crocodile, but I'm talking about Mihawk, right? The man who's known physically as the Marine Hunter, and now they're actually putting bounties on the Marines, right? And what I think would be the best test of Mihawk's ability, because right now we truly do not want to see, I want to see, but people are very 50-50 about the interaction between Mihawk and Shanks. I already talked about earlier in the video that it's possible that the cross skills on their way to Elbas to talk to the man marked by flames. Could be a situation that if they don't send Buggy, they send Mihawk, and then we get an interaction with Mihawk and Shanks. That's neither here nor there. But one thing I really do want to see now, right, is because we have Garp sort of on his way to go save Kobe, which is interesting because Kobe has some implications as well to Sword. Kobe has some implications to the whole thing that happened at Rocky Port Incident. The people who were at Rocky Port Incident were Law, Blackbeard, and Kobe, right? We don't really know what happened, but we know that something happened there. And I think Drake was there too, but I can't remember. But if it's a situation where Mihawk is traversing the seas, maybe he's on literally hunting down pirates as well. And it could be the best part about it, right, is that Crocodile is a smart man, right? And even though the Yonko crews are sort of against each other, it would be interesting to see the Yonkos helping Yonkos. And Crocodile is a man that likes to have someone indebted to him. So what would be better than a man who's truly trying to live life like a pirate by getting Blackbeard indebted to him, right? And this is probably where they could possibly pick up Moria, if Moria's not an egghead. But like I said, Moria right now is a very big question mark. We don't know where he is and who he's with, or if he's even alive. But Crocodile's like, it'd be really interesting to get to have Blackbeard indebted to him, right? So possibly they team up later on. And then you would actually have the faction of, like, it's just sort of like, the more I talk about it, the more sort of like playing, like, so the more it's like adding up in my head. Because if Blackbeard is indebted to Crocodile, then you would actually have Blackbeard fighting alongside Cross Guild, and then you would literally have the warlords literally fighting together at the end of the war. But I'll leave that for another day. But to have Blackbeard indebted to him, you actually get an interaction where Crocodile's like, listen, we know, because Crocodile's influence is like all over the seas right now. He sends Mihawk, the Marine Hunter, to intercept Garp. And I'm thinking like, whoa, like, you're going too far here, but just hear me out, right? Like, with Mihawk, what we really want to see what he's truly capable of, right? We haven't really seen him to the extent of what he can actually do, right? So if say we get Zoro to get another challenge before Mihawk, it's sort of like just Mihawk just being there, and then like his end fight is Zoro, and it's very possible that if he fights Zoro, that for just plot reasons altogether, Zoro needs to become the world's strongest swordsman. That if Mihawk doesn't fight until the end of the series and is against Zoro, it's 100%. It's a very high percent chance that he's going to lose to Zoro. People talk about Shiryu, but I still don't see like a line of thinking where Shiryu is going to be fighting Mihawk unless they're both vying for something or someone, right? And strictly speaking, I don't really see what Shiryu would be doing against Garp or what Shiryu could possibly be doing besides Egghead. But since Shiryu stopped with Blackbeard, it's possible that we do get an interaction with Mihawk and Shiryu. But if that's the case, then does Mihawk just beat Shiryu? So then we already get to see Shiryu. So then Shiryu's out of the equation for Zoro. So then it's just Mihawk again, but it's still interesting because we get swordsmen fighting against swordsmen. But I'm not even going to talk about the White Bay Pirates. I'm going to continue talking about Mihawk. I was going to say something about Vista. But if Mihawk does go and challenge Garp, now we have an interesting interaction because now we're seeing 2 powerhouses, people at the pinnacle. And right now, Oda's fleshing out the people at the pinnacle. We're seeing Luffy fight Kaido. Now we're possibly get Luffy versus Kizaru. We're getting Blackbeard versus Law. We're getting Shanks versus Eustace Kid. So like the pinnacle people are now fighting each other. And remember, Oda's like, this character's fighting this character. Wouldn't it be interesting if the hockey man himself, Monkey D. Garp, fights the world's strongest swordsman, Mihawk? And then now we're talking about the debate between Shanks and Mihawk, because everyone's like, damn, if my man Mihawk actually fights and beats Garp, that hockey man situation can toss out the window. But obviously, like, this is just me being a fanboy wanting to see them fight. But it's interesting because, like I was saying, like, since Garp is on his way to Hachinosu to possibly rescue Kobe, maybe it's not even that Crocodile sends Mihawk to fight Garp. It's just that Crocodile possibly sends Mihawk to Blackbeard to probably asking for something, or maybe just interact with him. Who knows, right? And in doing so, we actually get the interaction between Mihawk and Garp, because Mihawk having the 3.5 or 3.65, I can't remember, 3.5 or 3.5 plus bounty, and then him also being known as the Marine Hunter, but then the Cross Guild also putting bounty to Marines. When are we going to see that? When are we actually going to see that in play? You know, like, and the reason why I'm thinking that is because, I just thought of it in my head, right? Here, I just thought of, like, maybe it's not Mihawk, but maybe it's the whole Cross Guild, but let's just say it's Mihawk. Because Blackbeard captured Kobe, and because there are bounties on Marines, it could be a situation that Cross Guild is going to either going to play Blackbeard, like obviously because Blackbeard just captured Marine for them, going to play Blackbeard, and in that interaction, we actually get to see Mihawk going. And the thing is, Mihawk wouldn't actually fight Garp. At the same time, Mihawk is a person who Mihawk is a person who actually truly likes challenges, right? He said that Shanks was a one-armed has-been. Obviously, you can make an argument here or there, but at the same time, like, he didn't want to fight Shanks at Marineford, whatever, right? He fought Zoro, beat Zoro. He interacted with Vista, but at the same time, things were happening, so he couldn't continue to fight with Vista. So after that, we really haven't seen Mihawk fight. But because they captured Kobe, and maybe that's the reason why Blackbeard captured Kobe to begin with, in order to get a bounty from the Cross Guild, and the Cross Guild are going to interact with Blackbeard for Kobe for that very interaction, and then we actually get to see the fight between Mihawk and Garp, because and in doing so, not only would Blackbeard still be indebted to them, but at the same time they would also be fulfilling the rewards program of the Cross Guild itself. So I could definitely see an interaction with possibly Mihawk and Garp, Crocodile versus Green Bull, and maybe even Buggy interacting with Shanks. Obviously, that's not going to mean much, but at the same time, we know that Buggy does not like Shanks, so it could be a situation where Buggy just helps Kid for some reason. Or maybe the whole Cross Guild go to Elbath. But I could definitely see Buggy going to Elbath to talk to the man marked by flames, but who knows, man? Like, it's very interesting to see like what's going on with the whole world, because we have no idea. And maybe the reason why they're sending Buggy is because they know that's Shanks' territory, but Buggy has some relationship to Shanks. So it could be a situation where Buggy can actually go there and avoid a fight, whereas if Mihawk went there, it's very unlikely. If Crocodile went there, it's definitely unlikely. But if Buggy went there, Shanks is like, it's Buggy. Hey, what's up, Buggy? Even though Buggy may help Kid, but at the same time, Buggy can go to Elbath and actually interact with possibly the man marked by flames much easier than the other two could. Because last time we saw Mihawk pull up on Shanks, Shanks was still pissed off until Mihawk showed him the picture of Luffy. Crocodile, I don't think he has interaction with Shanks right now. Maybe the Revolutionaries, which is also a possibility with Crocodile. I don't want to get too far off track, but basically matchups, we have Mihawk versus Garp, Crocodile versus Green Bull, and maybe even Buggy versus Shanks. And then here we have it. Honestly, who, what, and where fits perfectly for this video, because we have no idea who's going where, who's fighting who, and what's going to be the end result of everything after it all happened. So I'm very interested. Honestly speaking, I am very interested. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments about the Cross Guild and what's actually going to happen with the Cross Guild. So like I said at the end of every single video, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell button to come back next time and remain enlightened, y'all. Get right, don't get left, and until next time, remain polished. Peace.